maybe we can do we can play around with portrait
Yeah.
and have some fun there.
Okay.
So, just gonna do nothing.
Cool. I'm going to give it a few minutes just to check that everyone has time to join. Okay, we are live. Cool. You know what I saw today? I read an article earlier today that Facebook is actually bringing AI into the metaverse, and I'm just thinking that to change the gameplay, the games inside of the metaverse every time you play it. So it's going to be a new experience every single time based on your previous behavior. But now my question is this, and they didn't confirm anything, but imagine you're playing a game and every time you play it, it's different. So it never ends because AI just won't
Was
think
that the
you.
one with the different worlds and stuff?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in every gameplay you can now kind of plug in your AI and it just kind of runs with alternate endings the whole time. I'd lose my mind.
Imagine that. Like, just imagine playing Counter-Strike on like 3,000 different maps. Haven't played that in years.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I'm thinking, are you ready to jump into it, Trav?
And I think let's hang tight. People might
Cool.
just be. I think at 5 past we can hop in. But I think yeah.
No, 100%. Let's hang 10 for a bit.
Absolutely. I actually couldn't believe that of today of all days, when I felt like everything had to go smoothly, the computer crashed. This morning, I'm like, of everything had to crash today.
That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. And you sorted it out not too long ago. You really sorting your feet.
Actually, I'm just in my first browser, so and it's the first time we're using the software, right? So that's even more.
So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we are actually live. But I did check. We are live and kicking.
Oh, good. I'm gonna just check on LinkedIn if I'm actually live.
Go for it. Facebook is confirmed. I'll check out Instagram just to double check.
Okay, perfect. I think we have enough people here. I see LinkedIn is good as well. So yeah.
Great. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining. My name is Stefan. I'm the director. I'm a director here at Colossio, and yeah, I'm joined by our founder, Trav. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much for coming, and really appreciate everyone taking the time. These sessions are super informal, middle of the week. We're doing these every week, so yeah, it's great that everyone's joining, and like right throughout the session, like drop questions while we're talking about it. Really, anything. It'll be super fun.
For sure. I think the intention of today, guys, thanks for joining the live, is definitely to go through how to generate your content with AI and to analyze that data then with AI, your marketing online marketing data. We're splitting it up into kind of two sections. The first part, we're only talking about the generative side, and then we are going into the using that online marketing data. So really feel free if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please interact with us. This is very informal. We're really just sharing our skills with you guys, and we want to hear if you guys are stuck anywhere or if you want more elaboration. So on that point, yeah, Trav, do you want to take us into the generating content side of things?
Look, I also guess why do we know what we're talking about? So the one part is that we've both been in the online marketing space for many, many years. And the one part of our jobs every single day is generating content, right? Whether you're part of the team that generates content or you are part of the team that has to be hyper creative outside of actually generating anything. And I think AI has been fantastic in that space. And so much so that we have been able to create a tool called Colossio that is a marketing automation tool that works across multiple platforms and helps you generate content as well as understand content without having to do all the laborious stuff. But enough about that. The good stuff is, how do we actually do it, right? And today we're going to go through quite a few very practical applications here, and starting right from the top. So image generation. I've played around with a few tools. I've tried Midjourney, I've tried DALL-E, I've also tried Canva has some cool image generation tools, which I think are going through DALL-E as well. And ultimately, on tools like, I can't recall, there's a DaVinci. It's an app that I've used, really fun to use, easy to use, a stable diffusion model. So ultimately, when you are prompting these tools, right, you have to follow, I'd say, between 7 and 9 steps. But oh, by the way, whoever wants this master prompting doc, we've taken this from our software, tried to put it into a way that you can use it in your day-to-day life and your day-to-day jobs. And this is for you. So if you'd like a copy, just drop Colossio in the chat, and we will share this with you afterwards. So with image generation, right, you want to do as many of these 9 things as you can. So first things first, you have to give it a strong description, core subject, the main element, and you also want to give it some context. So what is the setting? Where is it going to be placed? And to follow through from that, we can go into very high detail here, but ultimately, the more technical bits of this ultimately comes from the technical parameters, so aspect ratio, the version, the quality, and the stylized. So just as an example here, this is how you would break down your prompt. The portrait of an elderly wise woman, wrinkly face, kind eyes, traditional tribal headdress, soft natural lighting, photorealistic style, and AR 4.5. So that would ultimately give it the setting, and then you would give it more, right? So that's image generation. I don't know if there's any more questions on that, but yeah, feel free to shoot. The next part that I use, I'd say probably 2-3 times a day, and I'm sure everyone else is too, is the text generation. So my personal favorites for coming up with ideas with text, with trying to create blogs, or trying to come up with a solid idea, because I sometimes find I can be very creative some days, and other days not really too creative. So I like to just use GPT-4o specifically, because I think it's a little bit further along, obviously, than 3.5, and also connects to the internet, so you get some really good content from GPT-4. Also, Perplexity has been quite good, but I sometimes find it too technical. So here's the 2 prompts that I use for coming up with ideas. Feel free to use these. They work really well for me, just to help me get a little bit of extra perspective if it's just me without the team trying to come up with something or just add meat to what I'm doing. The next one is blogs, right? So I think, why is AI here? AI is here not to write for us, not to do everything for us, but rather just to help us do things quicker, and several use cases in many different companies from a content creation perspective. My personal favorite here is GPT-4o. I love how it breaks it down, especially into the SEO stuff. We'll get into the SEO content creation, but I find that GPT by itself, you'll see that it's always follows the same sort of structure, and quite frustrating. So I generally use GPT-4o and Claude. It doesn't really matter which sequence, but as long as you are getting all the right framing throughout your prompt. So that's something that I like to do. Sure, Mr. P, I'll share that in Candice. I'm very much happy to share that. So no problem at all on that. So blogs, again, first draft. It's ultimately just to get you where you're going, right? And then you get like a bit of fine tuning, right? So I find that. Sorry, Yoga.
Just one thing before you end with blogs. I've realized in generating our blogs as well, a lot of the time, if you want statistics or if you want specific metrics inside of those blogs, I have sometimes kind of stumbled upon metrics or stats that aren't perfectly accurate. If I were to go Google that those stats, it would be either very outdated, or it would just be straight up not reflecting what that article or not reflecting exactly what that article is. So if you do create blogs that require statistics, I would also recommend in your prompt indicating a time frame in which those statistics were published, as well as you can prompt GPT or Claude to give you the URL and give you access to those articles or to those blogs where it pulled those stats from, just to make sure that it is as accurate as possible. So yeah, that would just be a point from my side.
No, thanks, Steph. And I think that's where Perplexity for me really shines, because Perplexity, maybe I got a few use cases here, but so for argument's sake, just for the call today, I was busy playing around with some data, which we'll get into, but Perplexity is actually connected to the internet, and they give really good insights from the internet. I do just find if you need to generate any content, it's a bit strange. So just like you can see here, right, they say sources. So here they give you exactly which website and which piece of content on that website that the information came from. So yeah, for me, it's hugely beneficial, right? But I think the main thing here is that to dive into this is still very, very manual, right? So just to give you a bit of insight to how we've combated this, because while articles and blogs are one thing, creating content for ads and content for social media posts is quite manual. So what we've done with Colosseo, I just want to see if I can go back slightly. What we've done with Colosseo here is that we've taken all of your business context data, so that's your website, your products, your blogs, and everything like that. This is a quick snapshot of Colosseo, but ultimately you can just tell it what you want and give it an example of how you would like it to respond, and it'll generate the text for every single platform, which is fantastic. So that's just one example at how platforms are actually advancing the way that we use these AI tools. So rather than it just being a second or third or fourth tool that we're using, it's actually just part of our flow every single day. Okay, and then SEO-based content, right? So I wanted to create a lot of content for our website before we launched, and I found that for us to get any domain authority, to drive the right traffic, to try get onto the first page, all of these common problems without spending $1 million a month, right? And I think AI is going to help. It actually helps us today, right, in generating more content for SEO. And again, GPT-4o specifically and Perplexity, excuse me, is the best, hands down the best, because it's able to use the data that's currently out there. However, there is still a bit of manual work to be done. So you'd go into your Google Search Console, see what keywords you're showing up for, take the ones that you're the top 10 or 15, whatever your SEO strategy is, and then use those to write content based on your company and product details, the topic that you're trying to rank for, and the keywords, maximum of 3, right? In my experience, correct me if I'm wrong. So that's on SEO content. I guess I see we've got 15 minutes left, so we got more than enough time. And meta descriptions, super, super important, right? So if you're using Yoast or something like that on your WordPress site or anything like that, you can obviously use GPT-4 and Perplexity for that. But again, it can't supersede the keyword research, in my opinion. So then performance prompts, right? Now we're jumping into the analytics. So when would we use this, right? So now we have, as an example, we have a Facebook and Google ad campaign out at the moment, and we would like to understand what do we need to do differently. So here's an example. You are going to get onto your Facebook Ads Manager, your Google Ads Manager. You're going to select as many of the references that you'd like in terms of metrics, in terms of breakdown, and you're going to export that. So you literally just download it and you drop that into an Excel sheet, just like what I've done here. And all I did was, and specifically using Claude, right? So I prefer Claude for this just because of how sharp they are and how they break down the content you'll see now. So I use this prompt here. I said, I need you to act as a marketing manager. I have some social media campaign data that I need analyzed to improve our understanding of what works and what doesn't. Please analyze this data and provide recommendations on how we can improve our content strategy, include specific actions, and how we can enhance engagement, reach, conversions. But that would ultimately be to what you're looking for, right? So I took that, I dropped it into Claude, I copy pasted this data, and it popped this out. Right, so before that came, it was just this, and I said, thank you, here's the data, and you can click to open it. So now I'll share the tracking template as well, but it's giving me some insight here. But now I need to apply the insight, track it, and actually understand if it's working or not. So what I've done here for you on the sheet, you can see what the recommendation was. You'll paste that into there. You'll see the task, and you can track the status, completion date. So super basic stuff, quite manual, but can be done, right? And this way you can actually see, can AI actually help you with that? And you can track that by using more detailed adjustments. So that's just an example, right? And if you don't want to do it manually, you can also ask it just to put it into a CSV format for you and just export that. So that would be great. But here's a good example compared to Perplexity, right? So I did this for Perplexity, and I found that it was busy saying things that I knew already. It said you should analyze the video content and messaging and identify areas for improvement. That for me is super obvious. I don't need to be told that. So AI is getting it wrong in the sense where Claude understood immediately what I was trying to do. So just the small nuances from platform to platform, what really, really makes a difference. And I think what motivated us in part of Colossio was actually the whole taking the raw metrics that you have, right? So this would be an example from your campaign data. So taking this data, putting it into trends to understand exactly what works, what doesn't work, why it doesn't work, and give you everything that you need to be creative and do what you're actually really good at, to generating the audiences, so you know who does what and when, who converts for what interests and behaviors, what people outside of that work. So while you can do it very manually, Colossio for us has been critical in helping us understand when to use what AI and why not to use AI in some areas, because it can just give you ridiculous things. So
I just want to add to that, Trav. I know that just to build on top of kind of processing your own data there. If you do decide to do it the kind of manual route, I've found that a lot of the time you have a lot of data and it can be incredibly overwhelming, and you don't necessarily know how to optimize all of it because there is so much. And one thing I found that what we've tried to automate in Colossio is to show you those trends, is to show you those high performing metrics within your data so that you can practically apply it. If you do decide to do it manually, you can just prompt GPT, you can just prompt Claude to take your data and for it to bring to the front and kind of show you what are your highest performing statistics and metrics. I would then, if you're still going the manual route and you're not using Colossio's super automated flow, you can then take that data and use that kind of those peaks, and use those peaks to build your next campaign. And then from then, you'll be able to more granularly see like, okay, cool. So these high performing metrics are really a realistic portrayal of my target audience. These are truly the people I need to target, and I can target them even deeper. So yeah, that was just my point on how to identify trends, but we try to do automatically. Candace, you have a good question here. A practical one, actually. How does Colossio connect directly to your Meta business account? So, Trav, do you want to take it, or do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, so basically, Colossio, during onboarding, you just connect your account like you're signing up you can say a sign in with Google, a sign in with Facebook, and it actually just synchronizes all that data during the onboarding process. So a couple clicks and you're in, really, to be straightforward on that. But so the other part, Steph, just to level with you there, is that I saw a comment about when you're generating content, it sometimes gets into a bit of a feedback loop of the same thing the whole time. I've had that tons. It freaks me out because you're like, I'm telling you this one thing and you're just not getting it right. What do you do? Curious.
So it kind of reverts back to those points that you mentioned, to kind of refine your prompt. The thing is, what I've realized, there comes a point that frustrates me so much, is that if you keep on refining, especially if you want to like mass produce social media content, or mass produce a few blogs that kind of fit your brand language, has a similar topic, a similar target audience, and for some reason, regardless of what you tell GPT, it gives you either the same kind of structure, it uses the same wording, even if you tell it not to. And what I've realized, to get out of that loop, it is important to what I found is to start almost a new thread within GPT, and then
So like delete entirely.
However, I would give it bullet points. I wouldn't give it paragraphs, and I wouldn't give it a structure. And if you feel like the structure still isn't on par, I would give it different options of structures. For example, I want my introduction and my conclusion to be tied in the first blog, to be tied to one another. I want it to be a 20-second read each. But the next blog, I want the introduction and the conclusion not to be connected to one another. I want the conclusion to connect to the body copy rather. So it needs that initial instruction to ensure that it does not churn out the same thing. Because if it is initially introduced to non-duplication, it is much easier for ChatGPT, I've realized, to kind of not repeat the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I've got a question here. Can Colosio execute all of the following elements of digital marketing: search engine optimization, SEO, content marketing, social media marketing, email marketing, pay-per-click advertising?
So I was about to ask, where do you see these comments? And sorry, it's the first time we've actually used the software, and I see we're getting all of the things.
I got you. Yeah.
Yes, so it can. The SEO, we are still busy working on. The Google integration is absolutely chaotic, as I'm sure everybody knows. The social media, so currently we're only integrated into Facebook and Instagram. We are working on getting the image generator and the design tool integrated in the next, I'd say, 60 to 90 days. And the Google PPC and the SEO will follow that quite soon. Email marketing, I must admit, that's also a little bit more complicated with the senders and your DNS records. That's coming towards, I would say, the end of the year. But by mid-2025, we plan to be full stack as to what you might use HubSpot for argument's sake. So that's our roadmap, if I am completely open there.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you. Great question.
Yeah, 100%. So all of those are definitely either already exist or in the pipeline. So
but just sorry, Steph, on that, just back to the ChatGPT stuff. I find that if you SEO content, right, like articles and stuff, we pump those out really quickly, and I find that just using the same prompt, the same text field, that you can keep the whole time, right? And should you want to change structure, I would then say, rather than asking it in that exact prompt to change structure and do a variations of articles, I find 3 or 4 prompts later, it does get a bit confused. So that's one thing that I found with trying to create our blogs and just historically.
Absolutely, yeah.
So is there any more questions that we can maybe help with? I guess like we're doing this next week. Is there anything that anybody would like to know for the next week, the week after that? If there's any topics that's pressing for you, we'd love to dive into them and actually try solve the problems that are really frustrating you with AI, because we have to use it every day, right? So better get used to it.
and even like problems if you face in your online marketing kind of your work day, a lot of the times there are AIs developed so quickly that a lot of times there are AI solutions that we may not be necessarily working on. But just like inform us, is there anything you want us to elaborate on in the AI space when it comes to online marketing? I actually have here's a good question, yeah. Which of the above elements is it most efficient with? I am assuming that this refers to the social media and PPC. Okay, later. So currently the strong suits, though naturally I don't think we have incredible weak points, but definitely are the social media and PPC. That's kind of where it is right now in this like today. That is the strong suits of Colossio.
I was actually going to say, maybe I can just look here. I mean, to try give an example, right? So while we can either create an automated ad, for argument's sake. So you can either pipeline wise, we are these will are actually grayed out, right? So you can create an automated ad to all of these platforms very, very quickly. So for argument's sake, this is a demo. You can explain exactly what the ad is, how much you want to spend per day, and you can generate the ad. You get a good overview. It's going to generate images based on your best performing data, and actually take all of the historical data, the new data, and make something that the AI thinks that it's going to be the best performing, and then you're done, right? So this is how the overview would look, and you can see exactly which platforms your content is scheduled to. So we've tried to make it as comprehensive as possible, but I do find that if we are, for argument's sake, if we are trying to be full AI, I think everybody, all tools that are out there at the moment, we're all trying to figure out what's the best way to do things, and we are like self-funded, right? So we don't have 50, 60 people behind us. We're a very small team of 5 or 6 people, and we can only build so quickly. So while we're doing this, we're really trying to understand exactly like what works best and when, and to things even like what's a good example? Yeah, if we had to create a test campaign, you can do test campaigns. You can do your where is the generate ad? Steph, you quite cozy here, right? So for argument's sake, you want to generate a campaign that has a various number of ads, all generated by AI. You don't really have time to launch anything. So you're just going to jump straight in, say 6 different ads. Here's my description. Platform goal, text audience is going to be automated, but you want to adjust the budget. And it's going to auto generate these things for you, right? So we're trying to get AI to do as much as possible, but everybody still wants control. So I think that's the main thing, is trying to find that balance between the AI automated stuff and the control as well.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to touch on that as well. There's a point Candice made here, and we're just working through the comments. The prescriptive data. It was really important for us to not only show you the data, just like Meta does in your insights, although you absolutely have access to it, all those insights. We want to, on top of that, Colossio, the AI system that is Colossio, wants to turn that into prescribing what audiences to target, what goals to set, what platforms to use, so that it can be as simple as creating an automatic campaign where you literally, like Trevor showed now, where you literally just choose a platform, give a description, add your budget, and it just churns it out for you. You can also just churn out campaigns because it can automatically implement those prescribed kind of content for you. Or you can also choose the more manual route for those who like a bit more control, to kind of set it up while also set it up manually, while also getting those prescriptions on each individual step. So yeah, that was a really important for us to cater to both of those, the kind of the quick fix that's still really accurate based on AI, and also the more manual flow. I just want to address a few questions here in the chat, Trav. Do you have a limit on how many platforms your product can connect to?
So look, as part of the roadmap, that would be 30 plus. So that would be all the social platforms. However, for now, we are quite limited just because of capacity. We are at Facebook and Instagram, right? That's where we are currently, but we're busy with Google, so that should be done in the next a couple months. So that's great. So I see that there's another question here. The problem that you mentioned, Mr. Perry, was that who's LinkedIn user here. An international broker wants to expand and gain market share in South Africa. They've hired me as the marketing manager and given me 6 months to develop, strategize, execute marketing efforts that'll give a 10% growth, lead generation, and a reasonable conversion rate and brand awareness. Draft a very detailed step-by-step project management document that'll include all the above elements and discussed. So that there's so much in that, right? So I would actually break that up by piece, right? And use the likes of Perplexity to jump into the data analysis first. So say, okay, well, they want to gain market share in South Africa. Well, Perplexity, give me the landscape, give me some use cases, because it can scrape what companies who have done formal valuations of the market in South Africa. So you would have to use a few platforms here, right? So use Perplexity for that. And then I would say from the strategize and the marketing efforts, I would say the strategy is very tough. And I find AI can get you far, but that's where I would lean more into a human and say, look, human, I said Travis or Steph, look, this is what we're trying to do, how we're trying to do it. Look, happy to chat after this as well, all right? But the strategy, I would say, Mr. Perry, would be to rather play with strategy with people, and rather use the legwork, the boring stuff for the AI.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Cool. Any further questions, guys? Pop it in the comment section. If there's any specific topics, again, topic or problem you want us to maybe have an entire live session on, which we're aiming to do this once a week. So please feel free to make any recommendations. If you haven't commented already that you're interested in that prompting doc, please do so in the chat. We will DM you with a link to the doc, and you could, and then it'll be available to you. Okay.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you everyone for the time. Feel free to comment for next week. I think next week we want to chat about the relevance of marketing departments with so much AI. I'd love to dive into that, but that might be a bit too long. But I would love to get some ideas for that. But other than that, we'll see you next Thursday, 1 p.m. Again, same time, same place. I got tea, so please bring yours, so I don't feel left out. And yeah, all the best, everybody. Have a